So, good morning, dear students.
Good morning.
Welcome to our class. So, there should be totally 38 students. I think I have to give you a time, 5 minutes, to get you all connected to our conference, to our lesson. So, what can you see from my demonstration?
Lecture.
Yes, lecture.
Lecture and lecture plan, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So right now we are totally 33 students. 34 students are connected to our lesson. I think that's enough to start our lesson. Okay, dear students, let's start our lessons then. So today we will study about approaches in teaching literature. So our plan of our lesson is made as followed. We will study about language-based approach, paraphrastic approach, information-based approach, personal response approach, moral philosophical approach, and stylistic approach. Right now, I would like to turn off my demonstration and to demonstrate another window. So here, as you can see, we have a model, we have a figure. Can you see it? Is it visible to you?
Yes, it is.
So these are approaches that are given in our plan, in our today's lesson plan. Information-based, paraphrastic, stylistic, language-based, personal response, and moral philosophical approaches of teaching literature in English classes for second language learners, of course. So, dear students, before getting down to approaches, I would like to speak about models, because these approaches are connected with the models of teaching, of using approaches. So what are the models? We have three models of teaching literature. The first model, as you can see, cultural one. So cultural model related to information-based approach. And in this model, literature is a source of facts or information to be put across to students by the teacher. Cultural model stressed on the role of literature in condensing values, ideas, and wisdom that have accumulated within a culture over historical periods. With the help of this model, students need to understand and research for political, literary, social, and historical context from the learned text. So it also assists students to understand and appreciate the different cultures and ideologies of thoughts and feelings which are beyond their time and space. It is a traditional approach, teacher-centered, and delivers information and facts to students. So in the cultural model, which is presented to linguistics to language learning by Carter and Long in 1991, connected with information-based approach. When we are learning literature with the help of information-based approach, we don't only learn, we don't only read literature text, we also do cultural values exchanges. It means we learn about culture of target country. Can you see me? Dear students, can you see me? Because I think my internet connection is a little bit worse.
Yes.
Now we can see you.
Okay, the next one is a language model. So as you can see, can you see the diagram, dear students? Right now, can you see the diagram?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
So in a diagram, we can observe also presented, the language model also is presented by Carter and Long. In this diagram, we can observe that language model connected with paraphrastic approach, stylistic approach, and language-based approach. So, language model comprises paraphrastic approach, stylistic approach, and language-based approach. Integrates language and literature as a source to improve students' language proficiency while learning the language. It uses literature in teaching different functions of language like grammar, lexicology, vocabulary, and language structures from the literary text to students. Helps to attain literature aesthetic aspects solely via expression and communication quality of literature. So the next model, the third and the last model of literature teaching is a personal growth model in teaching literature. So personal growth model comprises, okay, yeah, you can see this, yes? Personal growth model connected with personal response approach and moral philosophical approach in language teaching. This model comprises and enables students to develop their language, character, and emotions by connecting and responding the issues and themes to their lives. Encourages students to love and enjoy reading literature for personal development as well as to relate their relationships to the environment. Okay, so we have done with 3 models, dear students, and now we have to continue with the approaches. Before getting down to the video that I'm going to demonstrate you, which is connected with approaches of teaching literature in second language learning classes, I would like to say that these all approaches and models of teaching literature aimed at preferably employed by teachers in literature teaching, and in the result, it helps you to understand literature better. Okay, dear students, now let me finish with this demonstration, and I would like to continue to demonstrate the video. Okay, can you see the YouTube video?
Yes.
Okay, this is now. Let's continue.
In today's session, we are going to learn about the different approaches in teaching literature. The literature component in English is aimed at enhancing students' language proficiency, and it is also geared for the purpose of generating the aesthetic part of the language that is a personal response from students. Literature in education is aimed at developing the potential of students in a holistic, balanced, and integrated manner encompassing the intellectual, spiritual, emotional, and physical aspects in order to create a balanced and harmonious human being with high social standards. With this, literature is not only meant to address the interpersonal and informational aesthetic value of the learning, but also beyond that where the students learn about people, culture, ethics, behaviors, and other social norms. Thus, a focus on the approaches employed by teachers in the teaching of literature component in English would be of great interest. Teachers' approaches in the teaching of literature in schools. Carter and Long, 1991, stated that there are 3 models in the teaching of literature. 1. The cultural model, which view literature as a teacher-centered and source of facts where teacher delegates knowledge and information to students. 2. The language model, which allows the teacher to employ strategies used in language teaching to deconstruct literary texts in order to serve specific linguistic goals. And 3. The personal growth model, where the focus is on a particular use of language in a text and in a specific cultural context. These models have been incorporated in various approaches in the teaching of literature. An approach is a way of looking at teaching and learning. It gives rise to methods, the way of teaching something, which uses classroom activities or techniques to help learners learn. There are 6 approaches to the teaching of literature. These are the 1. Language-based approach, 2. Paraphrastic approach, 3. Information-based approach, 4. Personal response approach, 5. Moral philosophical approach, and 6. Stylistics approach. The language-based approach. In the language-based approach, literature is used to teach linguistic skills, aligned with the language model of teaching literature. The teacher guides students to express their opinions towards a text. He sets language activities in the literature lesson. He encourages students to actively participate in the process of understanding the meaning of the text. He generates language practice using the text. The students work with their classmates in the process of understanding the text. They may be exposed to group works, different language activities, like closed tests, jigsaw puzzles, prediction exercises, and other performance activities, like drama, role play, poetry recital, that will enhance their linguistic skills. The paraphrastic approach or translation approach. Using the paraphrastic approach, the teacher retells the text to students to help them understand. He uses simple themes to explain what the story is about to students and discusses what the author says in the text using the student's first language or L1. This approach is good for students who are beginners in the target language. The students may be asked to read paraphrased notes in the workbooks and handouts and retell the story to the class. The information-based approach. Information-based approach is the most favored by teachers in the teaching of literature, aligned with the cultural model of teaching literature. It teaches knowledge about literature, its background information. The teacher elicits information from students about the text. He explains the content of the text to the class. He asks questions to check students' knowledge based on what they have read. He provides students with background information. Students are given activities like comprehension questions, exercises, attended lecture sessions, and read notes from workbooks and handouts. Through these, students get information about the literary text. The personal response approach or thematic approach. In using the personal response approach, the teacher encourages students to relate the themes to personal experiences. He elicits students' responses to the text by encouraging them to express feelings towards the issues of the text. It encourages active involvement intellectually and emotionally, which draws from their own experiences, feelings, and opinions. The students may be asked to do journal writing, to have brainstorming and small group discussion, and write about their feelings and reactions towards an issue in the text. The moral philosophical approach. In the moral philosophical approach, the teacher incorporates moral values in lessons, asks students the values they learn from the text, and gets students to search moral values from a text to raise students' awareness of values derived from the text. Students may have reflective sessions, discussions on moral dilemmas, tell moral values, and conduct self-evaluation activities. The stylistics approach. Using the stylistics approach in class, the teacher guides students to interpret a text by looking at the language used by the author. He gets students to mark any linguistic features from the text that are significant to their reading. He encourages students to discuss beyond the surface meaning of the text. The literature lesson looks at the language of the text, thus, encourages language awareness. The students may be asked to identify linguistics features, for example vocabulary, tenses, in a text, discuss different meanings of a text, extract examples from a text that describe a setting or identify adjectives that describe a character. It is a combination of literary analysis and literary critic. In a summary, there are 6 approaches to the teaching of literature. These are the language-based approach where literature is used to teach linguistic skills, the paraphrastic approach where literature is translated to its simple terms, preferably L1, to explain its meaning, the information-based approach which which teaches knowledge about literature. The personal response approach, which encourages students to relate the themes to personal experiences, the moral philosophical approach, which incorporates moral values, and the stylistics approach, which encourages closer understanding and appreciation of the literary text. The considerations of the mentioned approaches would always have a great impact in a literature classroom. That's all for now.
Okay. Thank you for watching. Right now, I would like you to inform that I'm making a recording, dear students. That's why after the end of my lecture, I will check the videos and I will grade those. I will add some points to those students whose videos are turned on, and I will take off some points from those students whose videos are turned off. Keep this in mind, please. And I would like also to inform our monitors to give me the list of the students who are absent. And I think there are almost, you were 35 at the beginning, and just give me the list of the 3 students who were absent on our lesson. Okay, dear students, you have watched the video which is connected with approaches of teaching literature. Okay, do you have any questions to me? Maybe you have misunderstood something. So let's make a checking up. How do you think, what is language-based approach? Here we have a short information. Literature is used to teach linguistic skills in language-based approach. How can language-based approach help to students? How do you think? What's your opinion? Abdashimva, if you have something to say about the you can speak.
All right.
So, dear students, do you have any understanding? What is your understanding about language-based approach? Right now on the video, we have watched the informations. We have given the informations. Now, I would like to make a quick revision questions, what you have understood from video. And furthermore, I will know whether to use videos on our lectures or not.
I have learned that language approaches have 6 types, and all of them have their functions. For instance, language-based attention, they are more attent to teach linguistic skills, and information-based are teach knowledge about literature, have their own functions, and they're the most it said that some of the types of these approaches can help to switch.
Okay, thanks a lot. Shortly, if you know, dear students, I'm making a revision questions in order to understand what you have learned from the video materials. Language-based approach mainly aimed and helps to students to focus on the usage of language in literature reading. then the key words are given in the name of the approaches, language based. So you have, in using this approach, you know all your future teachers, and doesn't matter will you teach literature or stylistics of the language, it doesn't matter. Anyway, you will be faced with teaching methods, teaching approaches. And while you are teaching literature, anyway, you will teach literature, because in English teaching books, we have texts, we have literature texts, short stories to teach. And in that case, you will use these approaches. So the next one, paraphrastic approach. So paraphrastic, the name, the keyword is given in this name of the approach. So how do you think, what can we do? What can we learn in paraphrastic approach? Of course, in paraphrastic approach, primarily, we will learn how to paraphrase, how to reword the text to simpler language, or use other language to translate it. Now, I would like to ask a question. Did you pay attention to videos that you have watched? Was it clear to you? Dear students, Kutusheva, please turn on your camera. Kadirbaeva, turn on your camera, please. Those students who are switching off their camera, please turn on. Tohtagul, Agaydan Zaurbekova, Asatbek. Do not try to cheat on the lesson, okay? The next approach, information-based approach. How do you think what this approach is about, and how can it be helpful in learning literature? Dear students, you have just given information about these approaches. We are just making quick revision, information changing process. I just want to know what you have learned from video watching. What is information-based approach? At the beginning of my lecture, I have said you that we have three models of teaching literature. Cultural model. What are they, please? Could you inform? Could you tell me? Cultural model.
Personal growth.
Personal growth model. And language model. These.
Language.
So information-based approach is an approach which is connected with cultural model. And I have told you that in cultural model, we will learn what? We will learn about the culture, about the history of one country, of the target country, that is given in a literary text, in a short story. This information-based approach gives us knowledge, information. You know, this approach is a teacher-centered approach, and demands a lot of teachers' input in giving students various content of knowledge. Dear students, we have talked about it at the beginning of our lecture. To know, next one, personal response approach. Personal response approach. What is personal response approach?
They tell about their experience.
Personally with text teams.
Experience. So while reading literature text, literature short stories, they tried also to experience their own lives.
Yeah.
Okay. Moral philosophical approach. Moral philosophical approach teaches to students moral values. Okay.
Yes, about what was the aim of these short stories, maybe literature.
Okay, the last one, stylistic approach. So stylistic approach, dear students, what have you learned about stylistic approach? Stylistic approach.
They will develop their understanding about the text.
About the text, okay. Encourage close understanding and appreciation of the literary text. So, what is stylistics? What is stylistic? Have you ever studied stylistic subject? Dear students, what course are you right now?
It is linguistic analysis.
Yeah, this is linguistic analysis. Dear students, while reading literature text, we don't only read text. We learn history. We encourage our vocabulary stocks. We learn grammar. We learn stylistic devices. Because in literature text, there are a lot of stylistic devices. There are a lot of paraphrasing. There are a lot of moral values that gives us the stories. There are a lot of personal response. There are a lot of information, a lot of paraphrastic devices, a lot of language-based approaches. And according to stylistic approach, you will learn how to use stylistic methods. For example, simile, metaphor, such kind of devices you can face in reading literary texts, short or short stories. For example, metaphor. Let's take a metaphor as a stylistic device. So, businessmen always wear black suit. Yes? Businessmen always wear black suit. And how can we call it with a metaphor? Men in black. Men in black. In Kazakh, Tinyo. Yes? Men always wear black suits, and we can call them men in black because they are very serious. They don't like joking. They are always short in time, and so on. Okay, dear students, I see that today you are a little bit sleepy. Next time, for the next time, please, before attending my class, drink a cup of coffee, be active, be more careful with watching videos, or pay more attention to my speech. Try to understand more, try to get more information from the lecture, because you have to retell all the things that you have learned from lecture in your seminar hours. So we have less than 3 minutes. Okay, dear monitor, I would like to remind you again, how many monitors do we have? I think 2, yes? Dear monitor, I would like to remind you again to send me the list of the students who were absent in our class. Is that clear?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay. So do you have any questions?
No, we haven't.
No, you haven't. Okay. Thanks a lot. Thanks for visiting.